Hi, I'm Joe from School of Rock North Buffalo. When we're not making musicians, we're also fixing gear. So if you have a guitar or bass in need of love, if you need new strings, please bring it in. We'll be more than happy to help you. So not only do we do instruction and performance-based music, we also fix gear. So please bring it down to 9310 Treds Road, East Amherst, or you can give me a call at 716-317-7625. Again, School of Rock North Buffalo. We make musicians and we fix your gear.
On this episode, from the Goo Goo Dolls, Robby Takac.
Today's guest has had 7 top 40 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, which includes 3 top 10s. They've sold 15 million records worldwide. From the Goo Goo Dolls, let's welcome Robby Takac. Hey, Robby, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here.
So you guys are currently on your summer Anthem tour and played to your hometown fans in Buffalo, New York a few days ago. Those shows must always hold a very special meaning to you guys.
Yeah, it's good to get back home, especially to play in the city. We played in the city limits as opposed to kind of out in the suburbs, which tends to be the summer tour stops, out at Darien. So it was nice to be in the city and be able to do a rock show at the arena and that kind of thing. So, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, you guys always put on a tremendous show for sure. And what I've read, I guess the Goo Goo Dolls name came from an ad in True Detective. Is that correct?
That is true. Yeah, many, many years ago.
Cool. So you guys have sold over like 50 million records worldwide with hits like Iris and Name. How has the songwriting process evolved for you guys over the years?
Well, we used to sit around in a little back room and kind of just kick around and write songs together. That was before anybody really cared, back in the 80s. After we started getting some songs on the radio, more people sort of started taking interest in what we were doing. So there was a little bit more outside influence in what we did, so we tend to just kind of pull songs together, and when it's time for a record, that's when it's time to start coming up with some songs. We're not really prolific as where we're writing, throughout, the day, every day. It's sort of when it's time for a record, we pull one together.
Right. Some bands, they do the writing sometimes on tour or they take a break. Sometimes I guess it all depends on when the inspiration hits or you get an idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you were originally, I think, singing lead vocals, correct? And you guys were kind of like more of a punkish band to start out with, right?
Yeah, I still sing some songs, with John got a little bit more confidence and started singing a little bit more, and we started learning to play our instruments a little bit better and started figuring out what a song was and what made a good song. And and we got the luxury of finding out what our band sounds like 40 years later. A lot of people don't get that luxury.
Yeah, well, you guys have definitely come up with the right formula for your tracks for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the latest release you guys got out, Not Goodbye, Close My Eyes? Like, it's been described as like an emotional ballad about like memory loss and the pain of letting go. Would you say how that describes it?
Yeah, those are some songs we planned on taking most of the year off last year, actually. But we didn't. We ended up doing about 70 shows, and we toured over in Africa and we toured over in Australia. So we were really pretty busy last year. So I think our original intention was to put out a full album, but we ended up finishing about 7 songs once the tour came around. So we started dropping singles first day of the tour, and the rest of the album will be out in 6 days from today.
You've got a lot of other projects in the works over the years you've done. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those. In 2003, you started your own record label, Good Charmel Records in Buffalo. Tell us how a little bit how that came about.
Yeah, it started out kind of releasing songs from some Buffalo bands. I signed a few bands in Buffalo, and um, that was going okay. But I discovered that a good way to alienate people in your hometown is to have a record label because aside from the bands that you sign, the rest of the bands in town can't figure out why you're not signing their bands. And
Right. Sometimes you create that
yeah,
animosity, and you don't
yeah,
mean to. It's just whoever you get to and whatever
exactly.
happens.
Exactly, so that was a little bit rough terrain for me, so I didn't dig that so much. So as we were about to be kind of winding things up, we had a band called the Juliet Dagger that was over in Japan doing some shows, and we met the the band Shonen Knife, and they we became friends with them, and that was 2007, and we started helping them here in the States do some stuff. They had been around since 1984, I believe. They've been around a really long time. All female Japanese punk rock band. And so we got involved with them, released a few records, and started releasing some records by some Japanese bands over here in the States. And we just put out a new Shonen Knife record about a year ago, and they'll be over here starting a tour in September. My wife's their tour manager and confidant here in the States. So yeah, so I get home, we do Goo Goo Dolls finish up the tour. We do Tiny Desks uh, on the NPR show, and then I come home. I put my wife in a van. They go start the tour at Riot Fest in Chicago, and then they come to Music is Art the next day in Buffalo, which is coming up on September 20th, which is huge. Our 23rd year of bringing local musicians, artists, dancers, DJs, and the creative community together down at Terminal B. And Shonen Knife will be performing there, and then they take off for another 6 weeks. Yeah, so it's a busy time for the Takeac family here.
Yeah, definitely got a lot of stuff going on. And another thing also that some of your projects you were involved in over the years, you guys resurrected Trackmaster Audio, turning it into GCR Studios in 2007. Had some great artists there, Rick James, yes, Spyro Gyra, Annie DeFranco, just to name a few in there. How did that kind of come about? Was that at the same time when you're putting the label together?
John and I had been doing some. We put a little studio together up above the Century Grill, in uh, on I forget the street it's on there. Anyway,
In
downtown.
Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in an old Mason's Hall, Pearl Street, and yeah, and it was in an old Mason's Hall above, and we had all our Goo Goo Doll recording gear kind of up in there recording, and I had another smaller studio that was down on the corner of Franklin and Allen Streets, which is actually still open. It's our second location of GCR Audio. But John and I were working on a project with Ian Gillan from Deep Purple above, and Ian wanted to come to Buffalo and record. And the old Trackmaster space, which had fallen into disrepair, was open, but it was pretty destroyed. The pipes had broken in the walls, and no one had been in there in a few years. So the place was really kind of a mess. So we went in and rebuilt the entire place to do our Something for the Rest of Us record. Can't remember the exact year it was, but it was probably around 2005, something like that. And, yeah, and just started rebuilding the room up and brought it back to its former glory of Trackmaster, and opened it to the public. Since then, we've had, man, crazy amount of artists in there. B.O.B., Taking Back Sunday, the Menzingers, Lil Wayne, James Taylor. Just an unbelievable amount of international artists and have done a crazy amount of great local music in there as well. John Bacon of the John Bacon Quartet makes that his home to record in. All the Griselda Records folks, Conway and West Side Gun and some of them they make their home down there. So I mean it's a great resource for the community, and there's been some pretty great music being made within those walls, for decades now. So it's great to be able to carry that legacy on a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do in Buffalo, right? There's so many historical buildings that we have here. We try to keep them, or we refurbish them, or repurpose them, but we try to keep that historical value to it, which I think is a very, very cool thing to do in our city, definitely. So I wanted to also talk about, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, you want to talk about, obviously, the big festival you guys run every year, Music is Art, started in 2004. A nonprofit organization. Can you give us a little bit of background when this started? I mean, there's so much stuff that happens there now. It's just grown by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, well, the first one was 2 stages in my parking lot on Franklin Street at that 510 Franklin studio that I mentioned. Yeah, we had maybe 35, 40 bands or something like that playing our parking lot, and had a few artists there, and it was a free event, and that's what we wanted. That was the most important thing to us. And yeah, so we managed to keep it free and grow it over the last 23 years. And now we have 24 stages, I believe, and bike park and a circus and wrestling and an unbelievable amount of creative people doing performance art and art installations and displaying art, and so many amazing bands and hip hop artists and dancers and DJs. And the goal of the day is to just fill that area with creative people. And man, I'll tell you what, if you don't meet somebody to do something cool with there that day or get inspired by something, it's like, then you're not looking around hard enough, because it really is quite an amazing collection of people. And I've been on tour for the past year pretty much nonstop, so I really had to rely on our gang in Buffalo to really pull this thing together for us this year. Tracy and Sarah at Music is Art, and Al Baker and the Blossom people, and Don Keller and Chris Main, who've been doing our art for years, and the Bannocks, who run our kids village, and it just goes on and on. David Danzig, local infringer, is doing a big busker area. And of course, the Refringe World will be there again this year. Anita West with her and Todd Kanizik with their Americana stage. It's just an amazing amount of stuff, so much video, and I'm missing so many things that are happening that day. It all comes together, and Shona Knife is doing an appearance as well on the main stage, so that should be really exciting. And Green Jelly's returning as well too, which is always a mind blower as well. So yeah. So nothing but fun, man, and creativity, and it's all free. And if anybody wants to volunteer or contribute to keeping it free, please visit musicasart.org, and you can check it all out.
Yeah, it's definitely always one of the huge festivals we have here. It's good and great, and it's you guys host a number of things out throughout the year, programs, events, ranging from collecting and donating instruments to schools, mental health awareness tours, music industry education. It's not just that festival. There's all these other things you guys do behind the scenes throughout the year as you're putting this together. Like you said, your team does as you're out on tour, I'm sure, doing that as well.
Yeah. Well, they're great people, man. I'm super lucky, and the city's super lucky to have them, be as involved as they are. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And so you're still out on tour with the Summer Anthem tour. Let's take a look at some of the tour dates you guys got coming up here. It looks like you were in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Is that where you're playing today, or
Yeah, I'm actually right outside of Sterling Heights right now, but we'll be leaving here in about an hour and going and doing a sound check. We had our guitar player got a pinched nerve in his shoulder after the Buffalo show.
I was reading about that
So,
online? Yeah.
yeah. So we've been breaking in a new guitar player on the road,
Oh,
which is something we've never done before. So, but it's been going great. He's awesome, and he just kind of jumped in and made it happen. We did one show with no guitar player, just John and I, and a keyboard player and drummer. That was interesting in Toronto. It was great actually, but it's nice to have that guitar back in. It'll be even nicer to have Brad back again. So yeah,
yeah,
so we're
yeah. You
waiting for
got a
that.
lot of dates still coming up. It looks like you're going to be coming up in Seattle. You're in Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and then you're ending in Camden, Ohio. Looks like on September 12th, just before you get around here to Music is Art.
Yeah, we actually still have. There's a few dates after that too. We're going to the Ozarks for a show. We're going to and we're playing the Bourbon Beyond in Lexington, Kentucky too. That's on the 15th, and then we do Tiny Desk, the NPR show on the 16th, and then the 17th, I'm in Buffalo putting Shona Knife in a van with my wife. So,
You are a busy guy, definitely. So appreciate your time. Just real quick, do you have any advice for new musicians or bands out there? The landscape is ever changing all the time. Obviously, this used to be type of thing where you put out albums, you put out singles. Now it's more of a digital streaming thing. Do you have any advice for musicians or bands nowadays?
yeah, super easy. Do it because you love it. That's it.
All right, there you go, folks. All right.
That's it.
All right, great. So that wraps up this episode of Talk About Rock. Thanks to my guest today, Robby Takac from the Goo Goo Dolls. And to all
All
our
right, brother.
listeners, we hope you're doing your part, keeping the torch alive, and support live music wherever you are. Robbie,
See you
again,
later,
thank you.
brother.